Minji pressed her face against the cold metal window and watched the massive space station grow larger. Nexus Prime looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness. Lights blinked along its arms like tiny stars. She had never seen anything so big made by living beings. "Stop staring like a tourist," Do-hyun said from the seat next to her. But he was looking too. His reflection showed wide eyes behind his tough guy expression. The transport ship carried 20 students from Earth. All of them were the best fighters their planet could send. Minji had won 3 world championships in Taekwondo. Do-hyun had served 5 years as a Korean Marine. The others had similar stories, yet none of them felt ready for what waited ahead. The Galactic Military Academy only accepted the greatest warriors from 12 different species. Earth had just joined the galactic community 2 years ago. Before that, humans did not even know aliens existed. Now 4 humans sat on a ship heading to train with beings from across the galaxy. "Attention passengers," a voice said through the speakers. "We will dock in 10 minutes. Prepare for academy orientation." Minji checked her bag one more time. She had packed light. A few changes of clothes, some personal items, and her training uniform from back home. The academy would provide everything else. At least that was what they told her. The docking bay buzzed with activity. Beings of different shapes and sizes moved around the platform. Minji saw a group of tall, thin creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. Their movements looked smooth and careful. Another group had thick, rocky skin and stood twice as tall as humans. They talked in deep, rumbling voices. "Earth students, follow me," said a voice behind them. They turned to see their first alien instructor. He looked like a giant lizard walking on 2 legs. His scales were dark green with yellow patterns. Sharp teeth showed when he spoke. A name tag on his uniform read, "Instructor Vextar." "I am your orientation guide," Vextar said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "The Academy has been training warriors for 3,000 years. We have taken students from species across the galaxy. You are our first humans." He started walking, and they followed. The corridors were huge. Everything was built to fit beings, much larger than humans. Minji felt very small. "Your species is young," Vextar continued as they walked. "You have only had space travel for a few decades. Most students here come from civilizations thousands of years old. Do not expect special treatment because you are new." They passed groups of alien students. Some looked at the humans with curiosity. Others ignored them completely. A few seemed amused, like they were watching children play dress-up. The orientation room was massive. Hundreds of students sat in rows of seats. The humans were given spots in the back corner. Minji noticed they were the smallest beings in the room. "Welcome to the Galactic Military Academy," said a voice from the front. The speaker was another, lizard-like being but larger and older than Vextar. Scars covered his scales. "I am Commander Thexnall. For the next 2 years, this academy will be your home. You will learn to fight. You will learn to lead. You will learn to protect the galaxy from threats you cannot yet imagine." Images appeared on a giant screen behind him. Battles in space. Alien warriors using weapons that shot beams of light. Soldiers wearing armor that seemed to bend reality around them. "The galaxy is dangerous," Commander Thexnall continued. "Pirates raid shipping lanes. Hostile species threaten peaceful worlds. Ancient machines wake up from long sleep and attack anything they find. The Galactic Defense Force stands between order and chaos. You are here to join that force." More images flashed by. Energy shields that stopped projectiles in mid-air. Weapons that could cut through solid metal like paper. Armor that made the wearer invisible. "Your training will be hard," the commander said. "Many of you will fail. Those who succeed will become officers in the Defense Force. You will command ships, lead troops, and make decisions that affect millions of lives." Minji looked around the room. Every alien student sat perfectly still. Their eyes never left the screen. She felt Do-hyun shift uncomfortably beside her. "Training begins tomorrow," Commander Thexnall announced. "You will be divided into groups based on your species and abilities. Instructors will evaluate your skills and place you in appropriate classes. After the orientation, students moved toward the dormitories. The humans walked together, not sure where to go. Other species seemed to know exactly what to do. "Excuse me," said a voice behind them. They turned to see one of the insect-like beings. It looked like a giant mantis with extra arms, its head tilted as it studied them. "You are the humans, yes?" it asked. Its voice sounded like clicking and buzzing. "Yes," Do-hyun answered. "I am Zixthon of the Thylos Hive. We have heard much about your species. You fight with primitive weapons, correct? Metal blades and projectile launchers?" "We use many different weapons," Minji said carefully. "How interesting," Zixthon clicked. "Our species evolved past such crude methods long ago. We fight with plasma and energy fields now, much more efficient." The insect being moved closer. Its large eyes reflected the corridor lights. "Tell me, do humans really still hit each other with their appendages? Like animals?" Do-hyun's jaw tightened. Minji put a hand on his arm. "We train in many fighting styles," she said calmly. "How quaint," Zixthon said. "Perhaps the instructors will find time to teach you proper combat techniques, if you can learn them." The insect being walked away, making clicking sounds that might have been laughter. "Friendly bunch," Do-hyun muttered. They found their dormitory rooms. Each human got a private space, which surprised them. The rooms were simple but comfortable. A bed, a desk, storage units, and a small bathroom. The bed was too large and the ceiling too high, but it would work. Minji unpacked her few belongings. She placed a photo of her family on the desk. Her parents looked so proud in the picture. They had cried when she left Earth. Pride and fear mixed in their tears. A knock came at her door. She opened it to find Do-hyun holding a food tray. "Cafeteria food," he said. "Thought you might be hungry." They sat in her room and ate. The food tasted strange, but not bad. Everything seemed designed for alien biology, but humans could digest. "And what do you think?" Do-hyun asked. "About what?" "All of this. Being here. Being the primitive species." Minji chewed slowly, thinking. "My grandmother always said that being underestimated was an advantage." "Your grandmother was a smart woman." She also said that still waters run deep." Do-hyun smiled. "We are going to surprise them, are we not?" "Maybe," Minji said. "But first we need to learn what they can teach us." Outside their window, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere among them was Earth, small and far away. Tomorrow their real training would begin. They would learn if humans belonged among the warriors of the galaxy. Minji finished her meal and prepared for bed. In a few hours, she would find out what the greatest military academy in the galaxy thought of human fighters. She had a feeling it would be an interesting education for everyone involved. The alarm buzzer sounded like a dying animal. Minji rolled out of bed before she was fully awake. Military training never left the body, even on an alien space station. She dressed quickly and headed to the cafeteria. The other humans looked as tired as she felt. Tae-hyun rubbed his eyes while eating something that looked like purple eggs. So-young stared at her food tray like it might attack her. They all seemed to be having the same thought. What had they gotten themselves into? "Attention, Earth students," Instructor Vextar announced as he approached their table. "You will report to Training Room 7 for evaluation. Do not be late." He handed each of them a data pad. The screen showed a map of the academy and their schedule. Minji saw that they had been placed in something called Basic Combat Fundamentals. "Basic?" Do-hyun asked, looking at his pad. "Your species lacks advanced combat experience," Vextar explained. "We must start with simple concepts before moving to real warfare." Training Room 7 was smaller than the main halls. The walls were covered with weapons Minji had never seen before. Some looked like metal tubes with glowing parts. Others resembled curved sticks that hummed with energy. Everything seemed designed to shoot beams of light or create protective barriers. 3 other students waited in the room. 2 belonged to the Thylos hive species, like the one they had met yesterday. The third was a Gromnir, one of the rock-like giants. All 3 wore the standard academy training uniform, but theirs fit properly. The human uniforms hung loose in some places and pulled tight in others. "Welcome to remedial training," said Instructor Kethvar as he entered the room. He looked different from Vextar. His skin seemed to shimmer and change color slightly. His movements appeared to flow like water. "I am Kethvar of the Kalari. I will teach you basic weapon handling and defensive techniques. For most species, this class lasts 2 weeks. For humans—" He paused and looked at them with something that might have been pity. "We will take as long as necessary." He moved to a rack of weapons and selected one that looked like a silver rod with blue lights along its length. "This is a plasma rifle," Kethvar explained. "Point the front end at your target. Press the trigger mechanism. The weapon does the rest. Even children from civilized species can master this in days." He demonstrated the firing stance. Feet apart, weapon held firmly, eyes focused on the target. Energy bolts shot from the rifle and struck training targets across the room. Each hit caused the targets to glow and beep. "Simple, efficient, clean," Kethvar said. "No need for the crude physical violence your species prefers." The Gromnir student, who introduced himself as Gorth, stepped forward first. His massive hands made the rifle look like a toy. When he fired, every shot hit perfectly. The Thylos students Ziltar and Nexarin also showed excellent accuracy. Their movements were quick and precise. Then it was the human's turn. Taihyun went first. He held the rifle awkwardly, trying to copy the instructor's stance. When he pulled the trigger, nothing happened. "Safety release," Kethvar said impatiently. "The red button near your thumb." Taehyun found the button and tried again. This time the rifle fired, but the energy bolt went wide of the target. "Focus on the targeting system," Kethvar instructed. "The weapon will guide your shots if you trust it." But Taehyun kept missing. His body wanted to move and adjust like he was firing a physical weapon. The plasma rifle did not work that way. It required the user to stand still and let the targeting computer do the work. So Jung had similar problems. She kept trying to compensate for recoil that did not exist. Her shots scattered around the target but rarely hit it. "Curious," Gorth rumbled in his deep voice. "Your species reaches space but cannot operate simple weapons?" "Perhaps they are defective," Ziltar clicked to Nexarin. "Evolved incorrectly." When Minji's turn came, she took the rifle and examined it carefully. She found the safety release, the trigger, and what looked like a power indicator. The weapon felt strange in her hands. Too light, too balanced, too perfect. She raised the rifle and fired. The bolt struck the target but not in the center. "Better," Kethvar said, "but you are fighting the weapon systems. Stop trying to aim manually. Let the computer assist you." Minji tried to relax and trust the targeting system. Her next few shots hit closer to center, but something felt wrong. Every instinct told her to adjust her grip, shift her stance, control the weapon herself. The rifle wanted her to be passive, to just point and let it do everything. Do-hyun stepped up last. He had been watching the others and thinking. When he took the rifle, he held it exactly as the instructor had shown. His shots hit the target consistently. "Excellent," Kethvar said, sounding surprised. "At least one human can learn." But Minji noticed something else. Do-hyun's movements looked stiff and unnatural. He was forcing himself to use the weapon the way the instructor wanted, fighting against his own training. The lesson continued with defensive techniques. The instructor showed them energy shields that created protective barriers around the user. Again, the alien students picked it up quickly. The technology read their thoughts and intentions, creating shields where they were needed. The human struggled. The shields kept appearing in the wrong places or at the wrong times. Taehyun's shield activated when he was trying to move, trapping him in a glowing bubble. So-young could not get hers to work at all. "Your species thinks too much," Kethvar observed. "These systems require instinctive response, not conscious thought." But that was the problem. Human instincts had been shaped by millions of years of using tools and weapons that required active control. Spears, swords, bows, guns, all demanded that the user guide and control them completely. These alien weapons wanted to think for themselves. After 2 hours of training, the instructor dismissed them for lunch. The alien students left quickly, talking among themselves. The humans gathered their things slowly. This is harder than I expected, Taehyun admitted. The weapons do not feel right, So-young agreed. Like wearing gloves that are the wrong size. In the cafeteria, they sat together at a table near the back. Other students filled the room, but few paid attention to the humans. They had already been labeled as the slow learners. We need to adapt, Do-hyun said quietly. Learn their way of fighting. Maybe, Minji said. But something bothers me about all this. What do you mean? She looked around the cafeteria. Every species sat with their own kind. The Thylos clicked and buzzed at each other. The Gromnir rumbled in voices like distant thunder. The Kalari shimmered and changed colors as they communicated. Look at them, she said. They all fight the same way. Point and shoot. Stand still and let the computer aim. Trust the machine to protect you. That is how advanced warfare works, Taehyun said. We are the primitive ones here. Are we? Minji asked. Or are we just different? Before anyone could answer, Zixthon approached their table. The insect being carried a food tray, though Minji could not tell what was on it. How goes your training, humans? Zixthon asked. Learning to use proper weapons? We are learning, Do-hyun said carefully. Good, good. Though I heard from Instructor Kethvar that you struggle with basic concepts. Perhaps your species is not suited for military service? The clicking sound that might have been laughter came from Zixthon's throat. Your people still fight with metal sticks, yes? Hit each other like wild animals? How can such crude methods compete with plasma and energy fields? Minji felt her temper rise, but she kept her voice calm. Every fighting style has its place. Not in modern warfare, Zixthon said. Kinetic weapons are relics. Physical combat is for savages. The galaxy has moved beyond such primitive things. The insect being walked away, still making clicking sounds. I really do not like that one, So-young muttered. None of them understand, Minji said. They think technology makes them better fighters. Does it not? Taehyun asked. Minji picked up her fork and twirled it between her fingers without looking. The motion was smooth and automatic, like breathing. Technology is a tool, but the person using it still matters. That afternoon brought tactical simulation training. Students were divided into teams and given a mission: infiltrate an enemy base and retrieve stolen data. Each team had mixed species to encourage cooperation. Minji found herself grouped with Ziltar, one of the Thylos students, and a Kalari named Velthara. Their mission briefing appeared on a holographic display. The enemy base was heavily defended with automated weapons and shield generators. Standard approach, Ziltar clicked. Disable shields with plasma charges. Eliminate defenders with covering fire. Retrieve data and extract. Velthara shimmered agreement. My people can phase through some barriers. I will scout ahead. They looked at Minji expectantly. She studied the base layout on the display. Multiple entry points, guard positions, patrol routes. Her mind automatically began calculating approach angles and timing. What about the ventilation system? She asked. What about it? Ziltar asked. It connects to every room. No shields, no guards. We could enter through the maintenance tunnels. Crawling through dirty tubes? Velthara's colors shifted to something that might have meant disgust. That is beneath trained warriors. Sometimes the best path is not the most obvious one, Minji said. But her teammates had already decided on their approach. They would assault the front entrance with superior firepower and technology. It was the proper way, the civilized way. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at the academy. They had adapted somewhat to the alien training methods, but progress was slow. The other students whispered that Earth's representatives might be the first species to fail the basics requirements. Minji sat in advanced combat theory class listening to Instructor Kethvar explain battlefield tactics. The room held 30 students from 6 different species. The humans occupied the back row as usual. Proper combat requires precise timing, Kethvar said, his skin shifting to a pale blue color. Modern weapon systems calculate optimal firing, solutions faster than any organic mind. Your job is to trust the technology and follow its guidance. Hyun Woo, one of the newer human students, raised his hand. He had arrived the week before with the second group from Earth. Unlike the others, he questioned everything the instructors taught. "Instructor Kethvar," Hyun Woo said, "what if the technology fails? What if we need to fight without it?" Several alien students made sounds that might have been laughter. Zixthon clicked loudly from the middle of the room. "Technology does not fail," Kethvar replied, his colors shifting to darker shades. "These systems have been perfected over thousands of years. Your species still thinks in terms of primitive backup plans because you come from a world without proper advancement." "But what about hand-to-hand combat?" Hyun Woo pressed. "Physical, fighting techniques?" The laughter grew louder. Even some of the usually serious Gromnir students rumbled with amusement. "Physical combat?" Kethvar's skin turned almost red. "You mean striking each other with appendages like animals? That is exactly the kind of thinking that holds your species back." Minji watched the instructor's agitation grow. Kalari showed emotion through color changes, and Kethvar was becoming increasingly irritated. "Modern warfare has evolved beyond such crude methods," the instructor continued. "Plasma weapons, energy shields, targeting computers. These tools make physical violence obsolete. A civilized warrior relies on superior technology, not brute force." "What if the enemy gets close?" Hyun Woo asked. "What if they are inside your defensive perimeter?" "That scenario is impossible with proper shield management," Kethvar snapped. "Your species thinks in terms of primitive close-quarters fighting because you have never experienced true technological superiority." The instructor moved to the front of the classroom, his skin now cycling through angry reds and oranges. "Perhaps it is time for a practical demonstration of why your old ways are inferior." He picked up a training knife from the weapons display. The blade was real metal, sharp enough to cut, though it was designed not to cause permanent injury. Several students shifted nervously in their seats. "This," Kethvar held up the knife, "represents everything wrong with human thinking. A crude tool that requires you to be close enough to touch your enemy. Any civilized warrior with proper equipment can defeat such primitive weapons easily." Minji had stopped taking notes. Something in the instructor's tone set off warning signals in her mind. She had heard that particular mix of anger and contempt before, usually right before someone did something stupid. "Human reflexes are slow, compared to enhanced species," Kethvar continued, still holding the knife. "Human awareness is limited by your primitive senses. You cannot compete with beings who have evolved beyond your level." He began walking between the rows of seats, still gripping the weapon. Most students watched nervously. The humans sat very still. "Your insistence on outdated combat methods shows why your species will never truly succeed here," the instructor said. "You cling to inferior techniques because you lack the intelligence to embrace superior ones." Hyunwoo started to respond, but Kethvar cut him off. "Enough questions. I will show you exactly how useless your primitive reflexes are against a properly trained warrior." Minji felt the change in the room's atmosphere. Every human student recognized the signs. They had all grown up in a warrior culture that taught them to read body language and emotional states. Kethvar was past rational thinking now. The instructor had moved behind the human section. Minji sat in the back corner, apparently paying no attention to the lesson. She had been sketching tactical diagrams in her notebook margins, a habit that helped her think. "Consider this, student," Kethvar said, stopping directly behind Minji's chair, not even aware of her surroundings, completely focused on irrelevant scribbles instead of the lesson. "This is typical human spatial awareness." Minji continued drawing, but every nerve in her body was now alert. She could hear the instructor's breathing, smell his particular alien scent, feel the small air currents his movements created. Her grandmother had taught her that lesson long ago. When someone wants to hurt you, they always give themselves away first. "A human warrior would never sense an attack from this position," Kethvar announced to the class. "Their primitive reflexes are no match for a trained alien predator." Without warning, he flipped the knife and hurled it toward Minji's head. The throw was fast and accurate. The blade spun through the air in a perfect arc that would have struck her temple. Every alien student expected to see blood. Instead, Minji's left hand moved. She never looked up from her notebook, never turned her head, never showed any sign that she knew the knife was coming. Her hand simply rose from the desk and intercepted the spinning blade. Her fingers closed around the handle with perfect timing and positioning. The sharp point stopped 2 inches from her neck. The motion was so smooth and casual that it looked almost accidental. The classroom fell completely silent. Minji finished the line she was drawing, then set down her pen. Only then did she look at the knife in her hand. She examined it with mild curiosity, as if wondering how it had gotten there. "Is class over?" she asked calmly, still not looking at the instructor. Kethavar stood frozen behind her chair. His skin had gone completely white, which Minji had learned meant shock in his species. Around the room, alien students stared with their mouths open or whatever equivalent their anatomy provided. "How?" Kethavar whispered. Minji placed the knife gently on her desk and returned to her sketching. "You asked a question about human reflexes. I thought you were conducting an experiment. You never looked. You never turned around. How did you—" "No what?" Minji asked, as if genuinely confused. The instructor moved around to face her. His colors were cycling rapidly through confusion and something that might have been fear. "The knife. How did you catch it without seeing it?" Minji looked up from her notebook with an expression of innocent puzzlement. "Oh, that. You were standing behind me for 30 seconds. Your breathing changed when you decided to throw something. Your footsteps shifted when you moved your arm back. The air pressure changed when you released the object. Basic situational awareness." "Impossible," Zixthon clicked from across the room. "No organic being has reflexes that fast." "Fast?" Minji seemed genuinely surprised. "That was not fast. I had plenty of time to react." She demonstrated by casually flipping her pen into the air and catching it without looking. The motion was fluid and automatic, like breathing. "Humans learn to catch things as children," she explained. "Parents throw balls to babies. Children play games with flying objects. By adulthood, intercepting projectiles is instinctive." Gorth, the massive Gromnir student, leaned forward. "You calculated the trajectory without seeing it?" "Calculated?" Minji laughed. "I just caught it, like catching a ball someone throws to you." But that was not entirely true, and she knew it. Her mind had processed dozens of variables in the split second before the knife arrived. Wind resistance, rotation speed, release angle, the instructor's arm strength, the blade's weight distribution. Her training had taught her to read all those factors automatically. Every human in the room had made similar calculations. They had all known the knife was coming before it left Kethavar's hand. The difference was that Minji had been in the best position to intercept it. "Instructor," Doyun said quietly from his seat, "may I ask why you threw a weapon at a student?" Kethavar's colors shifted to embarrassed greens. He had just attempted to injure a student in front of witnesses. Even by alien standards, that was completely inappropriate. "I was demonstrating," he stammered. "Demonstrating what?" Hyunwoo asked. "That humans can defend themselves better than you expected?" The instructor had no good answer. He had intended to humiliate the humans by showing their inadequate reflexes. Instead, he had revealed capabilities that his species did not possess. "Class dismissed," Kethavar said hastily. "We will continue this lesson tomorrow." Students began filing out of the room, talking excitedly among themselves. The humans packed their things slowly, waiting for the others to leave. "Nice catch," Taehyun said quietly to Minji. "He telegraphed the throw from orbit," she replied. "A child could have seen it coming. The aliens could not," So-young observed. That was the real revelation. None of the other species had noticed Kethavar's increasing agitation. They had missed the obvious signs that he was about to do something dangerous. Their enhanced technology had made them less aware of their surroundings, not more. "Word of this will spread quickly," Doyun said as they left the classroom. He was right. By dinner time, every student in the academy knew about the incident. The story grew with each telling. Some versions had Minji catching multiple knives. Others claimed she had done it blindfolded. News of the knife incident spread through Nexus Prime like wildfire. Within hours, every instructor at the academy had heard the story. By the next morning, Instructor Velthara stood outside Minji's dormitory room. "Student Minji," the ancient, Grumnir said when the door opened. "I would like to speak with you." Velthara was older than any being Minji had ever met. Her rocky skin bore the scars of countless battles, and her eyes held the wisdom of centuries. She was also the only instructor who had ever shown the humans genuine respect. "Of course, Instructor," Minji replied. They walked through the quieter sections of the academy. Velthara moved slowly but steadily, her massive feet making soft grinding sounds on the metal floors. "Tell me about your homeworld," Velthara said as they walked. "Earth? What would you like to know?" "Everything. Start with the dangerous creatures." Minji spent the next 20 minutes describing Earth's wildlife. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles, venomous snakes, spiders, jellyfish. The list seemed endless. "Your planet sounds like a death trap," Velthara observed. "How does any species survive there?" "We learn to fight back," Minji said simply, "or run away very fast." "And humans fight all these predators?" "We fight everything, including each other." Velthara stopped walking. "Your species wars among itself?" "Constantly. We have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Different tribes, different nations, different beliefs. Sometimes we fight just because we are bored." The old instructor's eyes widened. "This explains much." They entered a private training room that Minji had never seen before. The walls were covered with weapons from dozens of different worlds. Some looked familiar, others were completely alien. "I have been teaching combat for 300 years, Velthara said. "I have trained warriors from every species in the galaxy, but I have never encountered anything like what you did yesterday." She moved to a weapons rack and selected what looked like a metal staff with glowing ends. "This is a Grumnir battle staff. My people are naturally strong and tough. We rely on power and endurance in combat." She demonstrated a few movements. The staff moved in slow, crushing arcs that could shatter stone. "The Thylos fight with speed and coordination," she continued, replacing the staff and picking up a curved blade. "Their hive mind allows perfect timing between multiple fighters." The blade whistled through the air in quick, precise strikes. "The Kalari use energy and illusion," Velthara said, selecting a device that projected holographic copies of itself. "They confuse enemies and strike from unexpected angles." Each demonstration showed mastery of a single combat philosophy. Power, speed, or deception. Every species had found one approach and perfected it over millennia. "But humans," Velthara said, putting down the Kalari weapon, "appear to use all approaches simultaneously." She gestured for Minji to come forward. "Show me how your people fight," Minji hesitated. "I do not have any weapons. Use what is available." Minji looked around the room. Training mats, weapons racks, practice dummies, exercise equipment. Her mind automatically cataloged everything as potential tools. "What kind of situation?" she asked. "Multiple opponents, close quarters, limited escape routes." Without thinking, Minji moved. She grabbed a training staff from the nearest rack and spun it experimentally. Too light, too balanced. She set it aside and picked up a heavier practice sword. Better weight distribution. Then she began to move through combat forms. It started with basic techniques, blocks, parries, strikes. But as she warmed up, the movements became more complex. She incorporated footwork from Taekwondo, hand techniques from Hapkido, weapon handling from sword fighting. Velthara watched in fascination as Minji flowed from one style to another. High kicks transitioned into low sweeps, sword strikes blended with empty hand techniques. Every movement seemed designed to counter a different type of attack. "Stop," Velthara said after several minutes. Minji lowered the practice sword, breathing slightly harder. "How many different fighting methods did you just demonstrate?" Minji thought about it. "Maybe 6 or 7, basic mixed martial arts." "Mixed?" "We study multiple styles: boxing, wrestling, judo, karate, knife fighting, stick fighting. Most serious fighters know at least 3 or 4 systems." Velthara's rocky features showed amazement. Your species has dozens of combat methods? Hundreds. Every culture developed its own techniques. Then we shared them and improved them. Why? Because no single style works in every situation. Someone attacks you with a knife, you need knife defense. Someone grabs you, you need grappling. Someone shoots at you from far away, you need cover and ranged weapons. The old instructor sat down heavily on a training bench. This is unprecedented. What do you mean? Every other species specializes. We find one approach that suits our biology and perfect it. Gromnir are strong, so we fight with power. Thylos are fast, so they rely on speed. Kalari can phase through matter, so they use deception. What about adaptation? What about it? Minji sat on another bench facing the instructor. What happens when a Gromnir fights a Thylos? Strength versus speed? The superior warrior wins, Velthara said automatically. But what if the Gromnir learned some speed techniques, or the Thylos added some power moves? Velthara stared at her. That is not how combat works. Man, why not? Because... The instructor paused, searching for an answer. Because each species has natural advantages. We build on those advantages. And ignore your weaknesses? We compensate for weaknesses with technology. Minji nodded. That makes sense. But what if you did not have technology? Every civilized species has technology. But what if you lost it? What if your weapons failed or your shields were broken? Velthara went quiet. After a long moment, she spoke again. You are saying that humans prepare for technology failure. We prepare for everything to fail, Minji confirmed. Weapons jam, armor breaks, plans go wrong. When that happens, you need backup options. Show me, Velthara said suddenly. Show you what? How humans fight without technology. For the next hour, Minji demonstrated empty-hand combat techniques. She showed how to fight standing up, on the ground against weapons against multiple opponents. She explained pressure points, leverage, balance, and timing. Velthara tried to follow along. Her massive frame was not built for some of the techniques, but she grasped the concepts quickly. Remarkable, she said when they finished. Your species has weaponized physics itself. We use what works, Minji replied. Size, speed, strength, momentum, gravity, everything is a tool. And you all learn this? Basic self-defense is common. Professional fighters study it much deeper. Velthara stood up and walked to a communication panel on the wall. She entered a code and spoke quietly to someone on the other end. I have called for the other human students, she said when she finished. I want to see them demonstrate as, well. 20 minutes later, Do-hyun, Taehyun, Soyoung, and Hyunwoo arrived at the training room. They looked nervous about being summoned by the Academy's most senior instructor. Do not worry, Velthara told them. I want to understand human combat capabilities better. Please show me how your people fight. What followed was a revelation. Do-hyun demonstrated military close-quarters combat. His movements were efficient and deadly, designed to end fights quickly. Taehyun showed traditional martial arts forms, flowing techniques that emphasized balance and precision. Soyoung's background was in competitive fighting sports. Her combinations were fast and aggressive, designed to score points and overwhelm opponents. Hyunwoo had studied historical weapon fighting, recreating ancient sword and spear techniques. Each human fighter showed different approaches, but all shared common elements. Adaptability, improvisation, the ability to switch tactics instantly, based on changing conditions. Fascinating, Velthara murmured as she watched. You all fight differently, but you all think the same way. What way? Do-hyun asked. Like predators. You assess threats, identify weaknesses, exploit advantages. You never stop thinking during combat. She gestured around the room. Other species rely on instinct or technology. Gromnir smash things until they break. Thylos follow hive mind battle plans. Kalari use their natural abilities. But humans analyze and adapt constantly. You treat every fight like a puzzle to solve. Is that unusual? Soyoung asked. Extremely. Most species choose their approach before fighting begins. Humans seem to choose their approach every second. Velthara moved to another communication panel. I need to contact the Academy Council immediately. Are we in trouble? Taehyun asked nervously. No, the old instructor said. But the Academy's understanding of combat effectiveness may need significant revision. She turned back to face them. I have one more question. How long would it take to teach these techniques to other species? The humans looked at each other uncertainly. That depends, Minji said carefully. How willing are they to learn? What if the survival of the galaxy depended on it? Then we would find a way, Doyun said immediately. Velthara nodded grimly. You may need to. She did not explain what she meant, but her tone suggested that their conversation was about to become much more important than anyone realized. Report to Training Room 1 tomorrow at dawn, she told them. Bring the other human students. We have work to do. As they left the training room, Minji caught Velthara's arm. Instructor, may I ask what this is really about? 6 months later, the Galactic Military Academy bore little resemblance to the institution where Minji had first struggled with plasma rifles. The sterile training rooms had been replaced with obstacle courses that looked like broken cities. The neat weapon racks now held an eclectic mix of energy weapons and simple metal tools. In Training Hall Alpha, Commander Minji watched a mixed squad of humans, Thylos and Gromnir, work through a close-quarters combat scenario. The aliens moved differently now. Their movements had gained the fluid adaptability that once marked only human fighters. Contact Front, called Jinseo, who had been promoted to sergeant after showing exceptional skill at teaching alien species. His team immediately spread into cover positions that would have been impossible 6 months ago. The Thylos soldier Nexrin no longer waited for hive mind coordination. She moved independently, using hand signals to communicate with her Gromnir partner Gorth. Both aliens carried weapons that would have horrified their instructors a year ago. Simple metal clubs reinforced with titanium cores. Enemy positions identified. Gorth rumbled quietly. His massive frame was hidden behind debris that would never have stopped energy weapons, but provided perfect concealment from purely visual detection. The simulated devourers were represented by training drones, programmed to absorb energy attacks. Only kinetic impacts could destroy them, which had forced every student to learn entirely new combat approaches. Minji watched as Nexrin sprinted across open ground while Gorth provided covering fire with a kinetic projectile launcher. The Thylos reached the first drone and struck it with a combination of techniques she had learned from human martial arts instructors. The drone fell apart under the physical assault. Excellent adaptation, Lieutenant Dohyun called from his observation post. But Nexrin, remember to check your 6. The Thylos student immediately spun around, defensive stance ready. Her movements showed the paranoid awareness that humans called situational consciousness, and that had taken months to teach to species accustomed to technological sensors. Clear behind, she reported. Good. Gorth, advance and secure. The massive Gromnir moved forward with surprising grace. His people had once relied purely on strength and heavy armor. Now he used cover and concealment like a human special forces soldier. The exercise continued for another 20 minutes. When it ended, all 3 alien students had successfully adapted to human-style tactics. More importantly, they had done it while working as a team, instead of relying on species-specific advantages. Outstanding work, Minji told them as they gathered for debriefing. You are thinking like humans now. Is that a compliment? Gorth asked with what might have been humor. Among my people, it is the highest compliment, she replied seriously. The changes extended far beyond individual training sessions. The Academy's command structure had been completely reorganized. Human instructors worked alongside alien specialists, creating hybrid teaching methods that combined the best of both approaches. In the Advanced Strategy Center, Admiral Thorak reviewed battle reports from the front lines. The news was cautiously optimistic. Battle Group 7 engaged a devourer formation near the Rigel system, he announced to the assembled staff. Result: complete enemy destruction with minimal friendly casualties. The holographic display showed the engagement. Ships equipped with kinetic weapons had closed to ranges that would have been suicidal against conventional enemies. But against devourers, close-quarters combat was the only effective approach. Captain Soyoung's tactical innovations proved decisive, the Admiral continued. Her fighters used ramming attacks and boarding actions to disable the larger creatures. Captain Soyoung stepped forward. Like the other humans, she had been rapidly promoted as their methods proved successful. The key was treating them like large animals instead of starships, she explained. We targeted joints and sensory organs instead of weapon systems. Elaborate, requested General Velthera, who now served as the Academy's chief tactical advisor. Devourers have distributed nervous systems, similar to Earth cephalopods. Damage to peripheral areas causes system-wide disruption. We do not need to destroy them completely, just hurt them enough to make them retreat. The assembled officers absorbed this information. Fighting to cause pain rather than destruction was a distinctly human concept that most alien species found difficult to grasp. What about the memory engrams? Asked Commander Thexnol. Are they still adapting to our tactics? Yes, but more slowly, Captain Changmin reported from his position at the intelligence station. Physical combat has too many variables for them to predict perfectly. They can remember getting hit with a club, but they cannot predict every way a club might be used. This had been one of humanity's greatest contributions to the war effort. Human fighting styles were chaotic and improvisational. No two human fighters used identical techniques, making it impossible for the Devourers to develop comprehensive counters. The enemy is learning, Admiral Thorak acknowledged, but we are learning faster. The meeting continued with reports from across the galaxy. Human-trained battle groups were winning engagements that would have been disasters under the old tactical doctrine. More importantly, they were doing it with lower casualties and higher morale. One concern, General Velthara said as the meeting concluded, integration between species is proceeding well, but some resistance remains. What kind of resistance? The Admiral asked. Cultural. Some Thylos hives still consider physical combat beneath their dignity. A few Kalari factions refuse to abandon energy weapons entirely. And the humans? The humans adapt to everything, Velthara said, with what might have been admiration. They seem genuinely excited about learning alien techniques and combining them with their own methods. This was true. In advanced combat integration, Instructor Taehyun demonstrated how human martial arts could incorporate Gromnir strength techniques and Thylos speed maneuvers. The result was fighting systems more effective than any single species could develop alone. The ultimate goal, he explained to a mixed class of students, is not to fight like humans or aliens, but to fight like warriors. Use every advantage available. He paired up students from different species and had them spar with non-lethal weapons. A human student worked with a Kalari partner, learning to coordinate physical attacks with phasing abilities. Two Thylos practiced individual initiative while maintaining their natural coordination. The combinations were endless and constantly evolving. Remember, Taehyun called out as the students practiced, your enemy will be learning too. Never use the same approach twice in a row. This philosophy had become the new Academy motto, adaptation through innovation. It appeared on banners throughout the station, written in 12 different languages. In the Weapons Development Center, human and alien engineers worked together on new tool designs. The latest generation of kinetic weapons incorporated Gromnir, metallurgy, Thylos precision manufacturing, and human ergonomics. The key insight, explained Chief Engineer Yoonji to a group of visiting officers, was that weapons should enhance the user, not replace them. She demonstrated a new combat staff that could extend or contract based on the wielder's needs. In human hands, it became a flexible fighting tool. A Gromnir could use it as a massive club. A Thylos could wield it with lightning-fast precision. Every weapon system now includes multiple configuration options, she continued. We cannot predict every situation, so we design for adaptability. The philosophy extended to spacecraft design as well. The new assault ships looked nothing like traditional galactic vessels. They were built for close-quarters combat, with reinforced hulls for ramming attacks and docking systems for boarding actions. It took humans to remind us, Admiral Thorak observed during a ship inspection, that sometimes the best way to destroy an enemy is to get close enough to hit them with a stick. The first major test of the new doctrine came during the Battle of Centauri Prime. A massive devourer fleet, larger than any previously encountered, attacked the system's main industrial complex. The defending force included ships and personnel from 6 different species, all trained in human-style tactics. The battle lasted 18 hours and became a textbook example of integrated combat operations. Human fighters used hit-and-run attacks to harass the largest devourers. Gromnir assault ships performed ramming attacks that crippled enemy formations. Thylos squadrons coordinated precision strikes on vulnerable points. Kalari ships phased through enemy defenses to plant explosive charges. Most importantly, they all worked together. Species barriers had dissolved under the pressure of survival and the influence of human tactical philosophy. Final casualty report, Captain Nari announced as the last Devourer ship retreated from the system. 17 ships lost, 43 damaged. Enemy force reduced by 80%. Under the old doctrine, those numbers would have represented a catastrophic defeat. With human-style tactics, it was a decisive victory. Outstanding work, all units. Admiral Thorak broadcast to the fleet. You have proven that adaptation conquers all obstacles. In the months that followed, similar victories occurred throughout the galaxy. The Devourer advance slowed, stopped, and finally reversed. The aliens that had once seemed unstoppable were now retreating to the galactic rim,